Hey friends, this one is for you skeptics. There is a lot of question about whether processed foods are really that bad. I always advocate to avoid them as much as you can and try to focus on eating foods more in their natural state just to support lifelong healthy habits. But there's a lot of people who don't really buy it. They think processed foods are fine. So I'm going to just share with you a couple of the reasons why I advise you guys to avoid processed foods as much as possible. One is that your body can't recognize it. Our bodies were designed to eat food the way that it comes from nature. However, whatever your beliefs are on how our bodies got to be here, they run on the foods that the earth provides. And the further away from the way the earth provided them, the less likely your body is to be able to recognize it and process it. So when you eat those foods, all of your parts do their jobs and they break the foods down and they try to assimilate them into your cells and do with them what they're supposed to do with them, but they have a harder time doing that. It's harder to digest a lot of the times, and that can cause damage to your gut, which can mess everything up. I talk a lot about that. Gut damage can ruin your life. But it's harder for your cells to recognize, so they might not be able to use them the same way that they would if it were a natural food. They might not be able to assimilate the nutrients that were artificially added in. And sometimes your body just doesn't know what to do with the things, so it shoves them in the closet, which in your body looks like fat cells. So if it doesn't know what to do with it and it doesn't think it needs it at the time, it might just shove it in the fat cells and store it for later. I'll deal with that later. You ever done that? Because your body does it. Deal with it later. So that's one reason, is that your body just can't recognize those foods as foods. Your body is sometimes a lot smarter than your brain. If you take a moment and think about it, we're the only living creatures that need to even think about what to eat, when, how much, and that's your brain. Your body doesn't really need to do that. Your body knows what it needs. Your brain overcomplicates it and gets confused. So if you eat things that your body can recognize, your body can do what it's supposed to do and doesn't just shove everything in the closet. The second reason is that a lot of the chemical preservatives, emulsifiers, stabilizers, artificial sweeteners, artificial colorings, all of those sorts of things are well documented to cause negative effects on cellular function. There is ample scientific literature showing certain artificial colors and sweeteners can cause neurological dysfunction. They can mess with your brain. And it is so well documented that a lot of other countries have banned those food additives in their foods. And I'm talking about countries that are similar to us in gross domestic product and scientific acumen. Like, talking about European countries, the UK, like countries that are similar to us in a lot of ways culturally, but have banned these ingredients from their foods because the literature shows documentation that they cause disruptions to neurological function, especially in children. They can cause aggression. They can cause ADHD-like behaviors. They can cause moodiness, difficulty learning, difficulty paying attention, hyperactivity. So it's very well documented. That's science-y, okay? And it's really hard to do science-y stuff in nutrition, but they got that one. We just still let them fly. So they can wreak havoc on your brain and neurological function. They can also wreak havoc on your microbiome. Also well documented. Artificial sweeteners, all of the gums, guar gum, all of that kind of stuff. Stabilizers, emulsifiers, those kind of things, they can mess up your microbiome like big time. If you've listened to me at all, I talk a lot about how your microbiome can wreck your life if it's out of whack. So really important. So of course I'm hugely against anything that can wreck your microbiome like that. And then finally, they can also disrupt other cellular function. So they can disrupt regular cell growth, replication, cell death, like the normal processes, which can cause more rapid aging, can cause cancers, can cause all sorts of things. And that's not good either. So I try to avoid them because, like a lot of the other countries, I have a better safe than sorry approach when it comes to my health versus the United States, which has a, well, if you can't prove it, I don't care approach. And even if you can, if you don't have as much money as me, you're not going to win. So, I mean, you can choose, but those are my reasons. And if you still don't believe me that those things are real and well documented because the FDA approves them, the USDA puts a stamp on it, whatever, if you don't believe me because the government says it's okay and even encourages that you eat Cheerios, well, there's a little bit to that too, and I'll make another video about it. But here are some other things that they do, leaving out the sciencey stuff. They crowd out more nutrient-dense foods. So if you're eating a lot of junk that doesn't have a lot of nutritional value, you're not going to have as much room in your diet to eat healthy foods that have the nutrients your body needs. So they crowd out the stuff that you need. So you're eating the empty calories and you're not getting the nutrition, which leads to nutrition deficiencies, and that leads to disease. They also trick your body. So if you eat something that has calories but no nutrients, your body thinks it has nutrients, but then it doesn't get nutrients, but then it has stuff to digest, but it still doesn't have the nutrients, so it thinks it's still hungry because it needs more nutrients, so then you end up overeating because you're trying to get more nutrients, but chances are you're not leaving the Pop-Tarts to go have eggs. You're just going to eat another Pop-Tart if you're still hungry. So it tricks your body into thinking it's going to get food, and then it doesn't get food, and it makes kind of a mess of things. And then the third point I wanted to bring up is that it changes your palate. So it actually changes what tastes good to you, and it makes it so that you don't like healthy food because you're so used to eating the really sugary, the really salty, the really hyper palatable, bold flavors like Doritos that are like so flavorful. It actually changes what you like. So over time, you're going to start only liking those foods, not liking these foods at all, and it's going to kind of, again, crowd them out of your diet entirely. And we see this a lot with children. If children are introduced to processed foods where they're getting a lot of that hyper palatability, that super taste, you're getting a kid who only wants to eat mac and cheese or chicken nuggets and doesn't want to eat any of the regular food because the regular food doesn't taste as good. It's not that it doesn't taste good, it doesn't taste as big, it doesn't taste as in your face, it's not as sweet and as salty and as like so then these kids are like picky kids, and then parents don't have much choice. They feel like they don't have much choice other than to just feed them what they'll eat, because otherwise they won't eat, and you got to give them something. And so then these kids grow up eating this really nutrient poor diet and having a taste that only wants them to eat fast food or sugary foods, and creates a lot of problems. See the beginning of this video for an example of some of them. So even if you don't believe me about the science behind how they disrupt your cells and your function of your body and your microbiome and your brain, there's some very practical reasons why I think you should avoid processed foods. It changes what you take. It changes what you like. It changes your taste. It crowds out nutrient dense foods. And I already forgot the other thing that I said, but it's there. You watched it just now, you heard it, okay? So if you want to talk more about it, if you want to argue with me about it, or if you want to see what we need to do with your specific situation, click the link in my bio, schedule a free call. We'll have a strategy session focused entirely on you, your body, your situation, and we can talk about it more then.